One of the best feelings in fantasy football's got to be when somebody just absolutely pops off, but you already have them on your team. So you don't have to spend your waiver priority or your fab dollars. Last week, I told you guys that you should be picking up Alexander Madison, Juju Smith-Schuster, Ty Chandler, and Jalen Polk. I said these dudes are worth stashing, and if you stash them, you're probably feeling pretty nice, man, especially a dude like Juju Smith-Schuster. So in this video, man, we're going to talk about waiver wire stashes. These are dudes that you should pick up now before they pop off so that next week when everybody's scouring the waiver wire and throwing all these fab dollars on these players, you already have them, man. So without wasting any more of your time, bro, let's hop into this video. And we got to start this video with homework, man. I do this every week on these videos. Homework for us is just looking for handcuffs. Look at handcuffs for the dudes that not only you own, but also guys on like powerful offenses or like strong offenses, good offensive lines. They score a lot of points. They're usually in positive game scripts. Make sure these handcuffs are off the board. I listed a couple of them here. Just we can shotgun them off super fast, dude. It's Braelon Allen, obviously. He's probably picked up. Ray Davis to back up for James Cook. Cook got a toe injury. We don't know who's going to be starting this week. Trey Benson, he's James Conner's backup in Arizona. James Conner's old, an injury could be coming any one of these weeks. Blake Corum, just because Kyron Williams has such a massive workload. Ty Chandler, Aaron Jones already got injured. Remember, this dude was on last week's video as well. And now it looks like he's going to be the starter for one of the better offenses, right? Just keep in mind they are going to be on bye. So Emanuel Wilson, he's the backup for Josh Jacobs, just another dude on a strong offense. Jalen Wright, so Devon Achane got that concussion. Raheem Mostert's pretty old, although he did look good in his first week back. But he can get injured any one of these weeks, right? Audric Estime, another dude. He should be coming off of IR pretty soon. He might actually even start this week. And I don't know how happy the team's been with Javonte Williams. He was getting better the past couple weeks, I will admit. I've been poo-pooing on him on this channel, but he was doing very bad in the beginning of the season. Audric Estime might get the work, man. And then another one, dude. This one is very important, dude. Kimani Vidal. Make sure Kimani Vidal is not on the waiver wire. Gus Edwards looked like he was running backwards, dude. It looked like he had a time machine in his boots. He was wearing steel-toed boots. He was coming off of an Achilles injury, and it wasn't J.K. Dobbins somehow. I think they're going to give more work to Kimani Vidal. It just makes sense, man. Like, they were watching tape over the bye week, bro. But for the official dudes, we're going to hop over now to the first guy. It is Adonai Mitchell, man. So I've had Adonai Mitchell on these videos a couple times recently. Let's look at his game logs, bro. So it doesn't look too good. He had 5 targets, only 1 reception week 1. Throughout the weeks, he hasn't really been on the field very much. Like, he played a lot of snaps the first couple weeks and then really hasn't seen the field. But something I do want to talk about is in week 5. So Joe Flacco does get the start in week 5 because Anthony Richardson obviously had that injury. And Adonai Mitchell doesn't really see the field. Alec Pierce is the one who kind of pops off. But Adonai Mitchell only runs 12 routes, but he gets 7 targets. So as you can see here in his game log, he gets 7 fantasy points. He goes 4 for 38. So nothing insane, not a lot of production. He's not somebody that a lot of people are even like noticing that he actually had like a decent statistical game. That puts him at a 58% targets per route run, meaning he only ran 12 routes, but he got targeted 7 times. So when he was in the game, it seemed like he was like the first read or at least the second read. And a couple of notes or reasons why I have him on like a stash list is that Michael Pittman, they're considering putting him on IR. He's got that back injury. Josh Downs has been getting really all the hype, rightfully so. I love Josh Downs. I think he's going to be the main guy for this team moving forward. But he didn't practice on Thursday, so keep your eyes peeled for Friday's reports. If Josh Downs doesn't practice again, Adonai Mitchell is somebody that I'm being forced to actually start this week. So, and then another thing is that Alec Pierce, although he did pop up for 20 fantasy points, he only went 3 for 134 and 1. So he seems to be like the prototypical deep threat for the Colts, which is fine, right? I know we'd like to see Adonai Mitchell kind of in that role, but Adonai Mitchell's kind of running a lot of like intermediate routes, right? So it's I can imagine Adonai Mitchell starting this week, especially if Downs is out. So another thing, Anthony Richardson is likely back in at quarterback. Probably should have mentioned that in the beginning. And he does like throwing deep. So if it's Pierce and Adonai kind of sharing the deep routes, then this could be very interesting this week, man. And you want to get ahead of it, dude. That's why I'm saying you want to pick him up. This is just another little stat from Twitter. Wide receiver leaders and average separation score. So this is essentially just the wide receivers that get open the most, that they separate from the defender that's guarding them. Adonai Mitchell's at number 1 in the NFL at 0.323. So that is what we want to see. That puts him, I mean, ahead of dudes like Brandon Ayuk. That's pretty impressive. Ayuk's one of the better separators. This was a quote from head Colts wide receiver coach Reggie Wayne on Adonai Mitchell. He says, he's probably got the most separation of anyone in the league. We got to steal in the draft. Just keep watching. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm the type of dude where when I see a report like that, bro, like I can't help myself. I throw these types of dudes in my lineup. I end up regretting it most of the time, but that gets me excited, man. And I did list just a couple of cons here. He did have a lot of drops, throughout the season. Every game he's got like one pretty brutal drop. There's not enough snaps really for us to feel really confident starting him. Like we would need pretty much 2 injuries to feel confident, right? And then even then, I understand if you want to see him a week before you throw him into your lineups, right? But like I said, I'm forced to fucking start him. So if you guys are in a pickle as well and you don't have anyone else to start and you're starting him, fucking head down in the comments, bro. Let me know that you're starting Adonai Mitchell, and I'll be there with you, bro. We'll track his production together. I think he could pop off this week. So yeah, man. He's not doing too much on some of his routes. That's kind of or he's doing too much on some of his routes. He did say in a post-game interview, he's like, I'm putting a little too much hot sauce on my routes when I should be putting just salt, meaning he's doing a little bit too much. So I'm picking him up, potentially starting him, as I mentioned. That does it for Adonai Mitchell. Next dude is going to be Dameon Pierce. This one's a little bit interesting, or a little bit of a reach in my opinion, but Dameon Pierce has been hobbled the entire season up until now. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but he did practice in full on Thursday. So that's exactly what we want to see, especially since we were forced to watch Cam Akers play football the last 3 weeks. I fucking hate Cam Akers, dude. I might start like an Instagram account or a TikTok account, like going into the depths of Cam Akers' background about how much I hate him. I started him the first 2 weeks when he had fucking cake matchups. I drop his ass. And then in the third week that he gets the start, of course he scores a touchdown, actually has his best fantasy day. Fuck Cam Akers, bro. Should I just turn this video into a Cam Akers hate hate highlight reel? Probably not, dude. We're back to Dameon Pierce. Here's the problem. Joe Mixon might play this week. So this Dameon Pierce might also be trash, but if Joe Mixon is out, it's going to be Ogunbowale and Dameon Pierce. I think Cam Akers is somebody like they've seen enough of him. I've seen enough of him. You know what? This will be a Cam Akers. This will be a Cam Akers hate video. No, I'm just fucking around. So if Mixon is out, I think they give Pierce first crack, and it is against the Patriots, who they're a pretty good defense, but they're not like world beaters, right? They're not going to like completely shut out the Texans. I just don't see that imagining. And I want to bring up Dameon Pierce's production or his game logs from 2022. Not sure how well you guys can see it, but in week 2 is when he really started getting starter snaps, and he was pretty good the entire season that he was a starter, man. I mean, he scored from week 3 to week 10. He scored over 10 fantasy points every week. He had these pop-up games where he had like 9.36 yards per carry in week 4, 131 for 1. He had 6 receptions for only 8 yards. I don't know how the fuck that's actually possible. Jesus. Anyway, I mean, of course I know how it's possible. You catch the ball behind the line of scrimmage and you get tackled instantly. So, but he looked good, dude. The takeaway, like, I get so distracted in these videos, bro. I have to keep this shit succinct and concise. Anyway, yeah, he looked pretty good as a starter, man. So he's somebody who's definitely capable. I think Dameon Pierce is somebody like throw him on your team, throw him on your bench. If you have to start somebody this week and you're in a pickle, you could even start Dameon Pierce, if I'm honest. Especially if Joe Mixon is out. So that is the second player. We're moving on now to the third player, which is Jeremy McNichols. This one is interesting. This one's another one where if you got to start somebody this week, assuming Brian Robinson is injured, he didn't practice on Thursday yet again. He's been tending to this knee injury. So I don't really know what to do with McNichols and Eckler this week. They're both playing against the Baltimore Ravens, but looking at his game logs, week 4 gets those 2 touchdowns in that game when Eckler was out. A lot of people think he vultured Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson, imagine if these 2 touchdowns go to him. You're talking about a 3 touchdown game in week 4 versus Arizona when they were ahead by so much early on. And then in week 5, we're assuming his role is fully diminished because Eckler was back from his concussion. Gets another touchdown, bro. 7 for 44 and a touchdown. His yards per carry has been out of this world all season. seems like they're trusting him more and giving him more and more snaps right as the season progresses. Now, as I mentioned, if Brian Robinson doesn't play, I think it's going to be Eckler and McNichols. And keep in mind that the Ravens' run defense is really good, right? So here's how I envision this backfield kind of shaping up this week. It could be Eckler being like the dynamic, like early down plus receiving back, but it could be Jeremy McNichols that ends up getting most of the early down work. Like, I know McNichols has always been a third down back his entire career, but if they want to maintain the freshness and maintain Eckler as kind of like a scat back, it would be in their interest to put McNichols as the early down guy. Now, that's not necessarily advantageous against the Baltimore Ravens. Like the Baltimore Ravens have a really stout run D, but here's my thoughts on it. If McNichols is trending up to begin with, Brian Robinson is out. Eckler is older, and like he's somebody that I can imagine getting injured, right? He's just an older running back, especially if he gets a lot of work this week. So let's just say Eckler gets injured this week, and next week they want to hold Brian Robinson out one more week. You got Carolina on the docket, bro. And even if, let's just say Brian Robinson, comes back healthy, Eckler's back healthy, I think there's a world in which they start to give McNichols a little bit more work. And against Carolina, where that can easily be a blowout, again, the Commanders have just been blowing everybody out. He's somebody that can be like a flex play even against Carolina. I know that's crazy saying an RB3 for a team is a flex play, but against Carolina, I can imagine, you can do a lot worse, man. So stash him in case something like that happens. Cliff Kingsbury did have an interesting quote here. He said about Jeremy McNichols, he's a guy that all of us, we trust in any scenario. So just them instilling a little bit of trust in McNichols. That is the third guy. The fourth guy on my list is going to be, again, this dude pops up almost every week, is Jalen Polk. So Jalen Polk, it's a pretty easy thesis. He's only 19% rostered on Sleeper. Yahoo and ESPN are full of noobs, so it's probably even lower on those. Don't come at me in the comments if you're on ESPN or Yahoo. If you're on NFL.com, then damn, bro, I don't even know if you could use a keyboard. But Drake May is going to be starting for the Patriots. So that's a little bit of confidence or a little bit of upside now for the Patriots passing attack. Jacoby Brissett just was incapable of throwing the ball downfield. He didn't want to throw the ball downfield. He never wanted to like fit balls into like tight spaces. He tried a couple times, and there was one play where it looked like Jalen Polk came down with like a fucking super nice sideline grab, but ends up getting called back. But yeah, Polk's been inches, man, as I mentioned. We'll watch this short touchdown call that gets called back. It would have been a game-winning touchdown. Let me know what you guys think, bro. Check this shit out. So they were down by 5 against Miami, back of the end zone. He toe taps, bro. He toe taps this so well. It gets called back. So I don't know if they do a zoom in here, but I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but it was a brutal beat for him. Like, what is his production or what's his hype if he does get that, right? Like, what are we thinking about him now going into week 6? I think he's like a waiver priority, right? Like, if he would have caught that touchdown. So a couple of stats or a couple things that we are interested in is that he had a 19% target share over the last 2 weeks, meaning his role on the offense is slowly growing. That's what we want to see. We have a quarterback change and we have a receiver whose role is growing. That's like the rumblings, right? That's like a heating up type scenario. So that's why I have Jalen Polk on this list. This is a separation win rate. So don't confuse this with just separation. I think in just purely separation, Jalen Polk's actually charting really poorly, like in the bottom left. But in separation win rate, which is slightly different, and these are just his win percentages versus the different types of coverages. So on this chart, we see Jalen Polk over here in the top right, like not up where Brandon Ayuk is, who's a fucking god when it comes to separation and win rate. But we see Jalen Polk over here among guys like Juwan Jennings, T. Higgins, George Pickens, Amon-Ra St. Brown, not too far away. Like, this is the quadrant we want to be in, right? Good against man, good against zone. So I think Jalen Polk, dude, there's some rumblings. It's exciting how his role is growing. He's a young, exciting rookie. Kendrick Bourne is back. Maybe Kendrick Bourne is also like a deep stash just to see what happens. But I do think like the Patriots' offensive skill players have been guys that we really don't want to start in fantasy. We really weren't very confident in. But I think things could change, man. I think we could actually be a little bit excited about the Patriots moving forward. So I would pick up Jalen Polk and see what happens. Next guy on the list and the last guy on the list is going to be Xavier Hutchinson. He's been getting picked up by a lot of people in most leagues this week, so he might not be someone that you could stash already, but 15% rostered on Sleeper. Again, if you're on Yahoo, ESPN, maybe it's even lower than that. He's probably available in your league. If you're on NFL.com, I think I think the short bus already drove away. Don't forget your helmet. Nico Collins is on IR, bro. That's pretty much as simple as it is. Tank Dell has been kind of a disappointment. We're all expecting Nico or Tank Dell to improve, right? To actually like step up now that Nico Collins is gone. But in that game, in last game where Nico Collins gets knocked out of the game, he plays 71% of the snaps. He only goes 2 for 31, unfortunately, but he does kind of commandeer that like big slot receiver role for the Texans. He had a couple of nice plays where really gets into the intermediate, busts off like a good, yards after the catch. He ran 24 routes. That's what we want to see, right? And here's some metrics about him. He had a 9.8 average depth of target, so he's not playing close to the line of scrimmage. That's perfect. We don't want players that do that. 7.9% target share. Again, he was thrust into the role, so that maybe that's why it was so low. And a 13.5% air yard share. So only 28 air yards, unfortunately, but again, limited involvement. It was his first week. He wasn't really game planned in. They probably leaned on Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell in the run game in that game. It was a tight game against Buffalo, so there wasn't like a lot of offense being played. It was only like 23-20 games, so 2 for 31, as I mentioned, only 3 targets. I think like pick up Xavier Hutchinson, put him at the end of your bench just to see what happens with this offense, right? If Tank Dell continues to disappoint, like, dude, it would be so hilarious. It would be like poetic. Twitter, fantasy Twitter would explode if in this week Xavier Hutchinson outplays Tank Dell. Like, I can just already picture it happening. But in any case, man, pick up Xavier Hutchinson just to see what happens. He was very productive in college. He was like a very like polished player, very NFL ready type wide receiver coming out of college. He just wasn't drafted highly. But yeah, man, you could do a lot worse. And Hutchinson, just let's see what happens. Before I let you guys go, I do have some players that you can safely drop for your fantasy team. Do not look back. These guys are garbage. Do not keep them on your team. First one is Cam Akers. So as I mentioned, even if Mixon doesn't return, Dameon Pierce is probably going to get the starting job. I mean, fucking Dare Ogunbowale had more work than Cam Akers. You know what? Fuck Cam Akers, dude. I will never put this man in my starting lineup again. You can safely drop him without looking back. Next guy's Curtis Samuel. Unfortunately, he doesn't do shit with Khalil Shakir not even playing. We thought this could be the week that Curtis Samuel is used a little more. Ends up, doing absolutely nothing yet again. So he's getting less than 40% snaps every week. It's just, it didn't pan out. So you can just drop Curtis Samuel. Next dude is Carson Steele. Listen, bro. Pour one out, dude. A moment of silence for everyone who dropped all of their fab on Carson Steele. Kareem Hunt off the couch comes in. Man was working at Best Buy the week before, bro. I saw him at my local Best Buy. And yeah, he's the workhorse running back now for the Chiefs. Probably like a top 15 running back moving forward. You can drop Carson Steele. Next is Tyler Johnson. I mean, he shouldn't be on your team anyway, but Jordan Whittington was the lead guy with Kupp and Nakua out. I imagine Cooper Kupp, even if he doesn't come back after the bye week, Tyler Johnson's just not getting on the field anymore. Drop him. Again, rest in peace to any fab that was spent on this man. Ezekiel Elliot is the next guy. He's just cooked. He looks cooked. There was one fucking play, dude. I saw Ezekiel Elliott literally like running in circles looking for somebody to block. It's just, he looks like when your uncles are having a barbecue and one of your uncles still thinks he's got it. That's Zeke Elliott, dude. Gus Edwards is the next one, as I mentioned. The man has a time machine in his shoes and it's set to like -2 yards per carry. It won't even go back in time. It just has him moonwalking every time he gets the ball. Brutal. The man looks like he's coming off an Achilles injury. You can drop Gus Edwards. I think coming out of the bye, they looked at the tape. They saw he's trash. It's going to be Kimani Vidal as the second guy. That's just my guess. Next one. This one kind of stings. Andrei Iosivas. I don't know how to say his name. I don't even think he knows how to say his name. He's just not getting enough targets, man. T. Higgins is back. He got all the work. T. Higgins got the 2 touchdowns. Rest in peace to Andrei Iosivas. He was a nice prospect, a nice story, but it just looks like he's not going to get enough work. Next dude is Jalen Nailor. This one also stings. Really liked him as a prospect. He was looking really good in the time that he got, but Jordan Addison is back, took over. He had no targets last game and very low snap share. So I just think there's not enough going around on this team with Jefferson, with fucking Hawkinson coming back. You can safely drop Jalen Nailor. In any case, man, that's the video, bro. I hope this helps you. I hope you find some value from it. If you do, man, liking the video is the best way to show support. If you're new here, man, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you do catch my videos when I do publish them. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.